Hey, what is up guys, MixelPlx here. In today's video we're going to be discussing Once Human, and I'm going to be giving you some helpful tips to get things started if you're brand new or you're looking to streamline your gameplay experience just a little bit more. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the one important thing, and that is StarCrum. Now for StarCrum, you're going to want to click the scenario tab here on the main menu. So you're going to press escape, click this. Now you're going to go to seasonal goals. So if you're looking to farm or at least obtain some StarCrum in bulk right off the rip, you're going to want to look at these two different tabs here. Now the first one is basically these little tasks or objectives you can complete. That is everything from just exploring riddles, doing some fishing. They're basically little like passive things you can work on. And when you hit a certain amount of these, and in this case 340 of these, which is equivalent of around, I think 11. If you can complete 11 of these, you basically complete this whole thing. You get a grand total of 2,000 StarCrum and 30 meme points. Now, meme points, if you're not aware, are right here. You go to meme ticks and cradle. They're basically your talent points in terms of what you want to progress in regards to building plots, tools, etc. You may be wanting to be more of a base builder. You put more points in the furniture and stuff like that. Now, once you claim all of these, you get 2,000 StarCrum and 30 meme points, and then you get a specialization cleaner. Now, specialization cleaners, every 5 levels, you're going to get a specialization point. Now, these specialization points are completely random. You can get good and bad ones, but just to show off one of my better ones, I would say, is my crafting of ammunition. I get a 50% increased output on every craft, which is phenomenal. So if I, for example, make 9,000 ammo, I can essentially get like 13 to 14,000 instead, which is insane considering I wouldn't make ammo. You obviously want to make it in bulk, and getting a huge chunk of it for free is nice. But if I didn't like this one particular thing, I get one reroll right here. Now, something to note, go to seasonal goals here. You only get one of these per phase. Every phase has only one of these. That's the only way you can get them. You can't buy these off the store or anything. So if you get a really bad mastery, this is how you reroll. Personally, I recommend you don't use these till around 30 to 40, because sometimes some of the ones that are bad early on are actually really good late game. So do keep that in mind, but you are limited to these and how many of these you get per, I guess, overall season. Now for number 2, in our current phase of the game, well, you're gonna notice a substantial jump in meme points and StarCrum being rewarded, but this is a little bit more of a difficult thing. A lot of it starts to kind of go into, mid-tier activities. And if you do the math here, you get 1,900 for this and 1,600. So you're looking around 3,500 StarCrum just for completing these. Now, again, when phase 2 started, I already had these pretty much all completed. So I was almost able to obtain this like instantly, I think. Not only that, you also get 115 meme points, which is insane, but they do go quick. And we also get another reroll item for our masteries. So for those looking to get some StarCrum straight off the rip, this is one of the quicker ways of doing it. It's something you can just work on passively just by playing the game. But if you're looking to maybe look at certain tasks or maybe do something specifically, you can click on any of these and they give you little things you can do, like backstabbing 10 enemies, deal 5 headshot crit damages with the crossbow, defeat certain amount of enemies with melee, etc., etc. Now, another way you can obtain StarCrum once you go throughout the tutorial here, and that is the Stardust Resonant filter. Now, for those who don't know what the Stardust Resonant filter is, it is essentially a tower defense mechanic. Now, to do this correctly, I really do recommend building an area just for this. Don't put it in your main base because the AI will break it and will go ham in your base essentially. But if you go here to defense, you have everything from fire traps to gravitational grips to flamethrower traps, shotgun turrets, rifle turrets, and all of these do help in base defense on top of you already using certain things as well. And if this breaks while this is being done or it's active, it will stop and you'll have to fix it, rinse, repeat, and then try again essentially. You don't lose anything if you fail, but it is a thing. So if you can see this here, we get a weekly limit of 40 of these. So ideally what you're going to want to do is the best ones obtainable that you can do. So again, for example, I already did these recently with my duo who I play with on occasion, and we did 40 of his level 3s. So let's go ahead and we're going to go here, max it out. Now at level 3, these give 100 apiece. So by doing this one little event, we would be getting 4,000 Starcrim. That's 8 rerolls at the Wish Machine. It also gives us a breakdown of the monster level, the recommended players, waves of 3, and the number of elites. Now, again, I do recommend that unless you, before the week ends, I would try and get these done. Make 2s or make 3s essentially. At bare minimum, I would do a lot of 2s if you can't upgrade to 3 yet. So just keep that in mind. You do get 40 of these. Make sure you do them. Quite honestly, these are a joke. The only thing that sucks about them is they can break. Certain AI are really deadly, but all in all, it's a breeze. Even easier if you have yourself some good defenses. Now, one of the more common things I see lately in a lot of new folks is I see a lot of issues with water collection, especially starting out. Obviously, this process becomes a lot easier a little bit later, later game, and I'll show in just a moment what I mean. But essentially, what happens here is when you have a collection system and a water tank next to each other, nothing works, right? If I connect the two, by default, you would think it's raining, I should be getting some water. Why isn't this working? Well, fun fact, gravity is a thing. So not only do you need to keep this high, you do need to keep your water collection system slightly above your water tank. That way gravity can do its thing. Now, if you had a water pump like something you see here, this would maybe fix that. But at that point, you already have electricity and you probably can go for a different style of water. But if you're having an issue collecting dirty water from your rainwater collection system, that's probably why. So to fix that, this is how you do it. And then from there, you can pull from that and then just boil it at your kitchen station, which mine is a little bit of a mess. Sorry if this looks a little crazy. I'm in the midst of a remodel right now. Yeah, so we go here and we would boil some water. Now, for a little bit of a later game version of this, as you can see here, when you get to late game or mid to late game, you can get a water pump. Now, this is something that I see also a lot is people are like, yo, can I get water from anywhere? Do you have to base near water sources all the time for this to work? I thought so, but it's actually not accurate. So how this works is when you have a water pump, as long as you are anywhere, any location essentially that's not in a heavily populated or polluted area or an oil field, which there are a few, you can place this anywhere. So for example, I am currently in the desert and this is currently pumping dirty water just from the ground, and it'll transfer over to my next station here. So we have our water pump that's connected to this. The water pump will take what's from here, bring it over here, and then with this it'll go straight to our compact water filter, which allows it to be kind of like cleaned up a little bit. Think of it as like a reverse osmosis system. And because just like I was mentioning earlier how the collection system works, you're going to want your water filter to go directly to this. Now obviously we can keep this in the same level if we wanted to by putting a water pump essentially, but we're not going to be doing that for now. But essentially, if you don't have a water pump as an in-between right here, you need to have this higher so gravity does its thing. And as you see here, let's go to this, I have a lot of purified water right there. So hopefully that clears up a lot of the water issues. I see that so many times and it's just it's frustrating to see, and it's something I wish I was told a lot early on. But TLDR, water pumps work even in the most unimaginable spaces. Again, I'm in the desert and I'm able to pull water just fine. Now for our next topic, we're going to be talking about power creep and gear process. But how exactly does this work? In this game, every higher level zone has pollution. So if I'm currently like level 44. If I was to go in an area a little bit further north with deviated NPCs, I would run into an area with a lot of pollution, thus creating an area where my sanity would be at risk constantly. So let's take a look here. At tier 1, you get 54 HP, 9 pollution resistance, and 14 psi intensity. Now, psi intensity is essentially anything elemental based is essentially psi intensity. That's what it's based off of. That's what that stat uses. That's what that damage elements use. Pollution resistance is essentially the ability to allow you to go to these higher level areas or the next tiers without having to worry about your sanity dipping into your total HP pool. So for example, if I go into an area where my pollution resistance isn't that high, my maximum or total HP, instead of being maybe 90%, is now down to 60 because my pollution resistance is too low. So to upgrade our gear, we're going to go back to the gear bench here. We're going to make our stuff. Now, all these materials you get from collecting anything and everything. I reference this game with Fallout 76 in the sense of you want to grab literally everything, because even adhesive, even some of the plastics, you'll want to use them eventually, and they will be used for certain crafts, as you can tell. Each component will need to be made here. We'll fill in all these slots, and then I'll have a base energy link cost, which is usually relatively cheap depending on the tier. Lowest tier being 90, highest tier being 2100 in this regard. So if we were to make this right here, you could go ahead and confirm and create it. Now, in regards to calibration, so this is something that, again, I see quite a bit is like, do I calibrate stuff? Is it worth it? Now, in my opinion, some things deserve to be calibrated and some things don't. Stardust Source is a more of an end game material, and you do get some of it back if you happen to say like, maybe I don't like these pants anymore, even though these are fully calibrated. Maybe I just get sick of the build. I can essentially go over here. If I go over here, put these in, I would actually get a good chunk of the Stardust Source that I use to upgrade will be returned back to me tenfold. So it's actually really cool and allows you to still maintain, you know, some Stardust Source, because it is kind of a harder resource to get. So use it sparingly, but if you feel like you need to upgrade your gear, definitely do it. Personally, I recommend you do gloves, maybe your mask piece. The tiers, or like the main components like helmet, chest piece, boots, gloves, or not gloves, but pants. That's really up to you on how that works, but personally, upgrade the glove and masks if you really want to do something. And then for weapons, that's really up to you. Now, if you're just leveling up and you feel like you're leveling up in a decent amount, you know, decent rate, essentially, like you're averaging maybe 5 to 10 levels a day, I wouldn't personally, because there's a difference between weapons. So to kind of go through this, if I was to make a level 39 of these, essentially, if I upgrade this to maximum, I would maybe get around 60, maybe a little bit higher damage. But the baseline tier of damage and everything is just a little bit higher. Nothing else changes, but the damage definitely does increase. So make sure you upgrade your gear every 10 levels or so. Gear and weapons are definitely going to be something I would encourage you to upgrade, because, well, if you find a decent set or you get lucky with a good weapon. I mean, for example, I've been using this LMG since I was like level 15, I think. And I've been using it for about 30 to 40 levels at this point, and I don't regret it for a second, but I do upgrade it every chance I can. Now, without going into specifics of a certain resource, we're going to be talking about quality of life when it comes to crafting. Now, I'm a big person of trying to make things, I guess, more streamlined when it comes to certain processes. And one of the few things that I really recommend is getting electric furnaces. Now, to kind of show off exactly why I really want you to hone in on this real quick. We're going to move this right over here. Now, when you have a regular furnace, right? Here's the regular one. All of your crafts require charcoal, right? This is a component that you have to put in everything. If you want to make glass, you need charcoal. If you need sinister brick, you need charcoal. Steel, bronze, etc., right? Every one of these require charcoal. Not only that, but it does cap out at steel, ingot, and sinister brick. So if you're looking to do aluminum and tungsten, this particular station doesn't actually do that. But you will have to make charcoal constantly, which is really annoying, especially when you're just starting out, because pickaxes are relatively slow unless you are specializing in them, which I wouldn't recommend, because eventually when you get to the later game, you do get a couple of amazing little things, and that's chainsaws and electric drills, which is actually kind of nice. We saw a regular furnace requires charcoal. Now, when you get to electric furnaces, as you see in the crafts, none of these require charcoal at all. All you need is the raw material minus the charcoal, and it makes this process so much easier. Now, I can't stress this enough. Electric furnaces are huge and totally worth putting into your base, because, quite frankly, who wants to honestly deal with charcoal constantly, especially more so at the early game? So the moment you find yourself capable of getting and making these electric furnaces, definitely do it. And on that note of furnaces, electricity, now I see people putting their solar generators usually at the roof to get the maximum amount of watts, etc. I'll be honest, you can put any of these solar generators in an enclosed room and it'll still generate power. Sunlight isn't something that is actually necessary for these to work, but if you're looking for the aesthetics, obviously you can do that. But at the moment it is not needed, so do keep that in mind. Also, a little pro tip is you can actually wire. Now, if I wanted two of these furnaces connected to each other and I didn't want to set up a little terminal on the wall for both of these, you can essentially piggyback the electricity. If this one's active, you can just piggyback off of that and it'll also be powered and still pull from the same wire that this would be pulling from. Obviously, my wiring is a little messy right now, but you get the idea. You can basically piggyback off of power, which is really, really nice. Now, for the final bit of advice, I forgot to mention this during the Starcrim thing, when I was talking about Starcrim initially, is how do you spend your Starcrim? Now, Starcrim, you can spend it at the Wish Machine. Now, you get these from the quest line if you're just playing the game, and eventually you can make one of these just from the talents as well in the meme tree. But there's two different options here. You got Make-A-Wish and you have the Blueprint Shop. Now, in the Blueprint Shop, if you are looking to hard target a particular item, like for example, if I wanted this Wildfire BP, like if I wanted this pistol so bad, this is what I wanted. For 2000 Starcrim, I could cut the bullcrap, try not to risk 4 different rolls, and I would just get this directly. Now, this is actually pretty good for gear pieces, in my opinion. Now, this does work with certain things like different stuff here, but the downside is all of these legendary ones, which are typically very strong, take around 8,000 Starcrim. That's a lot of rolls. That's 16 rolls that you could be, you know, just streamlining it and getting it pretty easily. So do keep that in mind. If you're looking for something specific, definitely get it, but I wouldn't bother wasting it on this particular thing. Another way you can spend your Starcrim is over here. Now, here is the Wish Machine. Now you see a lot of different options here, and I'm here to explain exactly what these do. So Herald of Courage and the Caged Prisoner. Now, if you go over here, your last reward is going to be fragments for this, but you are basically guaranteed the Last Valor BP, 2 epic weapon blueprints, 2 pistol rarity blueprints, fragments for this as well, and 2 epic weapon fragments and 12 blue weapon fragments as well. Same with Caged Prisoner. If we were looking for this being our number 1, same thing, same concept. So instead of it being 20 different rolls for just any random set item, these are very hard targeted and allow you to obtain guaranteed this particular item. So the Cage Helmet and the Last Valor PP in this regard would be the guaranteed items that you could get. Now, personally, I like to do Echoes from the Rift, and here is why. So when you click the exclamation point, as you click that, you get all the information of what you can actually pull, and you can pull literally every legendary item in the game. Same with the epics. That for me is a little bit more fun, because if I wanted something like maybe the Hardy Glove fragments or maybe the, you know, the Crank BP or the Boom Boom BP, even though I have it, I would have to wait for another week to even get the potential to roll that. Whereas if I get it from here, I can have this ahead of time, and lo and behold, this was the first weapon I got, was that LMG, just by doing this particular roll. So hopefully that makes sense on how you spend your Starcrim. It's a cool little process. It's a little tedious, but they do cap it per week. I guess it's to kind of, you know, keep progression, you know, limited, I guess. So that's going to be it for me today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this guide, and if you did, make sure you hit that like button. Consider subscribing for more Once Human content. This is definitely a game I plan on uploading a lot more of, because quite frankly, this game is pretty awesome for a free-to-play title, and I'm very excited that it's finally out after many months of beta testing. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any more helpful tips that you would like to provide that I can put in another video, or just put in the comment section, if you have any tips for any new players, make sure you put them down below, and let's help everybody out and get them started in Once Human. So that's gonna be it for me today, guys. I appreciate your time. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.